Hello and welcome to the Run Testers. My name's Nick, and in this video I'm going to be comparing the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4 and the Nike Zoom Fly 6. So the Zoom Fly 6 and the Endorphin Speed 4 are both plated super trainers that are designed to be fast training shoes or all-rounders or can even stand in for race day shoes. They are both really good shoes, two shoes I've loved running in this year. The Endorphin Speed 4 more or less continues the fine heritage of the line, which I think has been probably the best super trainer on the market since it launched the original version of it. The Zoom Fly was almost the original kind of plated or training partner shoe, but went off the boil quite significantly the last few versions, but is very much back on form now with the Zoom Fly 6. So yeah, both cracking shoes. The Endorphin Speed 4 costs £180 or $170, whereas the Nike Zoom Fly 6 is a bit cheaper in the UK. It's £155. Same price in the US though, $170. The Endorphin Speed is the slightly lighter shoe at 255 grams or 9 ounces in the UK 9, whereas the Zoom Fly 6 is 266 grams or 9.4 ounces in the UK 9. The Zoom Fly has an 8mm drop with a stack height of 42mm at the heel, 34mm at the forefoot. The Speed also has an 8mm drop, but it's a lower stack shoe across the board. It's 36mm at the heel and 28mm at the forefoot. So looking at the design with the Nike, you've got a 2-layer woven mesh upper, a pretty comfortable upper that doesn't really sacrifice too much in the way of comfort to try and keep the weight down. You've got a fair amount of structure at the back and a bit of padding there as well. You have a dual density midsole with a top layer of Nike's Zoom X foam, the bouncy Peeba foam that's been the best foam in its range since it launched with the Vaporfly. Underneath that there's a layer of SR02 carrier foam, which is there to add a bit more durability and stability. Then you have a carbon plate running through the midsole, but it's a little bit more flexible than the ones you'll see on Nike's racing shoes, but still provides that stiffness and pop you expect from a plate. You've got a waffle outsole with good coverage on the forefoot and the heel, cut out in the middle there to reduce some weight. A pretty standard setup on the bottom of the shoe there for a super trainer. Then with the Endorphin Speed 4, you've got an engineered mesh upper. It's a little bit more kind of thin and breathable at the front than the Nike. Similar kind of levels of padding at the back of the shoe there. Small internal heel counter as well. You've got Saucony's Power Run PB foam in the midsole, which is a Peeba-based foam as well. And you've got the Speed Roll rocker geometry that's been very much a signature feature of the Endorphin line across the board. In that midsole, you have a nylon plate. So again, a little bit more flexible than a full carbon plate on a racing shoe with wings to add a bit more stability. Then you have a lattice rubber outsole on the shoe, very similar to the Nike in terms of the coverage there at the front and back with that cutout in the middle. So when it comes to fit of the two shoes, I've got a UK 9 in both, which is a US 10 with both of these brands. That is the size I generally use with Saucony and Nike. I did try a UK 8.5, a US 9.5 in the Endorphin Speed 4, which also fitted me pretty well. I am kind of on the fence between those two sizes. I would say in general, they both have a good fit, and I would stick to your normal running shoe size. I wouldn't go up or down in either of them. The Nike's maybe a little bit more kind of dialed in around the toes than Nike's full cushion shoes, but still has enough room in my normal size. No concerns with the fit at all, really. Like, I had a good lockdown around the heel and midfoot. They're both pretty comfortable shoes, especially the Nike, which has exceptionally comfortable upper, I would say, for a super trainer. On to the run test then, and as I said right at the start of the video, these are two really good shoes that I love running in, both very versatile, both have lots of speed, both pretty comfortable for easy runs. They really fit the mould of a modern super trainer for sure, but they do have quite different feels and approaches, I would say. The Speed 4 is the shoe I tested first of the pair, and it's still got that light, nimble, fast feeling that we've had with the Endorphin Speed since the original version. I think this latest version is a little bit cushier at the heel than past models, but I still find this a shoe that's very fast. I can go out and do very hard workouts in the shoe, and it's got that slightly more direct ride than most shoes these days, because you have got a slightly lower stack height, especially under the forefoot, and compared to the Zoom Fly, it does give you a slightly firmer feel, a slightly more rockered feel, and yeah, a very fast and nimble feel, but maybe isn't quite necessarily as bouncy and cushy as the Nike. As mentioned, it's really cushioned at the heel, and that does give it a nice, comfortable feel for easy runs. Like, as a heel striker, I do feel like you're getting a soft ride there if you are moving at slower speeds, and then you do get that nice snap through from the rocker when you do start to up the pace. The slight downside of that is that because it isn't so crazily cushioned under the forefoot, if you are snapping through like I do as a heel striker, can get a little bit of forefoot discomfort, I think, from this shoe when pushing hard over longer distances. Like, it's not something that's really bad. I still think it's got the chops to do those long distance runs and races even, but yeah, it's a little bit less comfortable under that forefoot compared to lots of shoes these days that have a lot more foam under that area, including the Zoom Fly. So with the Nike, if I go and do those longer, harder runs, you just don't get that at all. Like, I did a 90-minute steady run in this shoe, and you could really feel the difference between what I'd get from the Speed 4 and that kind of run, because it's really comfortable, cruisy, controlled. Speed 4 has that almost more aggressive feel and more direct feel, and doing that kind of steady run in the Speed, after about 60 minutes, I get a little bit of forefoot discomfort. Cruising through 90 minutes in the Nike, I just didn't have that problem at all. So that's really what you get here. You get a slightly bouncier ride, a cushier ride, a a ride that almost feels like you're more in kind of cruise control even when you're running fast, whereas the Speed you feel a bit more of that pace when you are pushing hard in the shoe. But then when you move on to really fast paces, I think that's where the Speed 4 does have a little bit of an edge. So if the Nike has that bit more comfort on longer sessions and that kind of thing, the Speed has a bit more nimbleness and speed when it comes to all-out sessions. So when I push to kind of my faster race paces in the Nike, it just feels a little bit big on the foot. It's not heavy, and you can do those runs in it. It is a fast shoe, but the Speed feels more natural to run really fast in, I find. Like, I can really use the Speed 4 as a stand-in for a full carbon shoe, and I'm eyeing up a really nasty session on my training plan, and I'm starting thinking, I might just use a full carbon shoe. The Speed 4 is one of the super trainers I go, I could do that shoe. I feel like I can perform just as well in it pretty much as a carbon shoe. Like, I remember doing a really nasty session where I did, I think, 24 times 1 minute on, 30 seconds float, and then into a 6K at 3:30 per K, kind of around marathon pace, and just felt amazing in the shoe. Ran the that long section at the start really well, hitting paces I was expect to hit in a carbon shoe, and then cruise through that marathon pace bit at the end. So I do think when you're looking at a really nasty session, a really tasty session, the Speed 4 would have the edge over the Zoom Fly. But if you're eyeing up something like a long progression run or a really long hard tempo run, the Zoom Fly would be the one that comes to mind for me. And that extends then to other kinds of runs. So these aren't just fast training shoes. Like I said, they are very versatile. They can do a bit of everything. But when it comes to your easy runs, Nike has a more relaxed feel. The upper's really comfortable. The underfoot feel is very comfortable even at slow paces. Whereas Speed 4 is all those things, but maybe not quite so much. Did a short run wearing both shoes at the same time, like in a mix of paces. First thing to say is the Nike is louder. I think that's something we should mention with most of the Zoom Fly content. To get that slight slappy sound that you get from some Nike shoes, you do get it with the Zoom Fly, even though it doesn't have that big AirPod that I thought was causing it in the Alpha Fly. At slower paces, they both feel really soft and cushy. Like, I do think that wedge of the foam at the back of the Endorphin Speed does give it a comfortable ride at easy paces. And as you start to move through the gears, maybe I start landing a bit more midfoot, and you get a slightly firmer feeling from the Speed, that really fast rocker transition. The Zoom Fly feels more similar at all paces, soft, bouncy, but it's fast. You're moving fast. You don't necessarily feel like you can tell you're moving as fast in this shoe. You haven't got so much feel for the ground, but it's really protective. You are moving quick in it. Speed has that more kind of aggressive rockered feel to it, a bit more of that ground feel if that's something you're after. So these are two really good shoes. Both shoes I'll be very happy to have in my rotation as a fast trainer or an all-rounder. Nike is a fair bit cheaper in the UK, which is something I would certainly consider as a factor, given the way the Speed is priced to be the same in the US, but a fair bit pricier in the UK. But they do kind of have slightly different strengths as well. The Nike, I think, is a great daily trainer that also has a lot of speed, whereas the Endorphin Speed 4 is a very good fast trainer that can also do those daily runs. So it's almost what you would prioritize when you're buying the shoe that might help you make the decision when you're picking between them. It's a bit similar to when I was talking about the Hokamak X2 and the Nike, and when I was comparing those two shoes. These are both cracking shoes, but if you're particularly looking for a shoe to do a lot of long miles, a lot of marathon training runs, lots of long sessions, I do think the Zoom Fly 6 has a bit of the edge on those runs. Endorphin Speed just doesn't have quite as much comfort underfoot, but if you are looking for a fast trainer to potentially go and do races in, especially shorter races, and to hit the track for short reps, that kind of thing, the Speed 4 does have a bit more pace in it, I would say, for sure. And then there's also a different ride feel to consider as well. If you do like the big cushy rides, you want more foam underfoot, you want a slightly bouncier ride in general, that is what the Zoom Fly provides. If you do like that little bit more feel for the ground, that fast turnover from the rocker on the Speed, and the shoe that just feels faster in general, then the Endorphin Speed 4 provides that. Like I say, they both have a very broad range of strengths, and I really don't think I'd discount either as an all-rounder. It just might come down a bit more to ride feel, maybe the price, and maybe, like I say, what you're predominantly looking for from a shoe when you're adding it to your rotation. Definitely a very hard call around for me. I think given the training I do, I would probably lean towards getting the Nike Zoom Fly myself. Like, usually marathon training, lots of long runs that don't necessarily go flat out paces, but I want a shoe that can bounce through them merrily and protect the legs well. And I think the Nike does that a little bit better. So I think it's a training style that probably plays to its strengths, though. When it comes to those really all-out sessions, I probably then have to reach maybe for a carbon shoe, whereas the Speed 4 does do those ones really well. That's our comparison of the Nike Zoom Fly 6 and the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Please do like and subscribe, ring the little bell, and we'll see you next time.